Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday at the time that I'm filming this. Really busy weekend this weekend. We have exams coming up this next week, so I'm going to be studying a long time this weekend, especially for my anatomy exam, which is mostly what you'll see in this video. I'm probably going to study for about 14 to 16 hours for that, based on the grade that I want to get on the final exam so that I can get a good grade overall in the class itself. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to study for a long time. So I've got 4 APRs, which are pretty much just quizzes over individual units. So I've got respiratory, digestive, urinary, and reproductive, those 4 to take. I have a review packet for the overall unit itself for their final exam. And then I have concepts from the cumulative portions that I need to go over as well and fill out in that review packet. So there's a lot to do this weekend. Let's get going. It's a pretty gloomy day out, cloudy, which means it's the perfect day to sit inside all day and study some anatomy. So here's the APR for the respiratory system. You can see all the ones that I got right and all the ones that I got wrong. See that I got an 82 when I need a 90 to pass. So we're going to take it again. And here's one of the sample questions that you can see here. So it asks which structure is highlighted over here. This is in a cadaver body, and the highlighted image is obviously what's in green because that would not be in your body actually. So you look at the options and it's parietal pleura, visceral pleura, right main bronchus, oblique fissure of the right lung, and the trachea. Well, if we want to eliminate options, trachea would be up here. If you want to look at the oblique fissure of the right lung, that would actually be right here. If you want to look at the right main bronchus, that would actually be this right here. And then it's either parietal pleura or visceral pleura. So parietal pleura is more superficial towards the surface of the skin. Visceral pleura actually lies on the lungs themselves. So that one you actually kind of just have to differentiate which one it's sitting on. So I know that it's visceral pleura because of this image looks different than the parietal pleura. These are the actual lungs. So I know that it's visceral pleura, so we can click next. You can see that I got it right. Another sample question would be horizontal fissure of the right lung, because we know that the oblique fissure would be this one down here. We know that the horizontal goes horizontally across the right lung. And one of the weird things is that you might think this is backwards because this is the left side of the image. But it's actually backwards and the person is facing towards the front when they're taking the picture. So everything is actually backwards. So the right is on the left, and then this would actually be the left lung over here. So that is on the right of the image, but the left of the body. So you got to remember that when you're taking the quizzes, because they do try and confuse you. So I got 100% on that overall quiz. So now we have credit, so we can save that report, exit out of here. So once we exit out, we have digestive, urinary, and reproductive left. So now we're going to go to the APR of digestive system, begin that, and then you can see a couple of the sample questions that they will provide. Starting off right here, it's going to show the picture of the cadaver again with a highlighted image. It's going to ask, is that the liver, gallbladder, neck of pancreas, or head of pancreas? That isn't the liver or the gallbladder, that is the pancreas. Now we need to know if it's neck, the whole thing, or just the head, and that would indeed be the whole thing. So here's another example of a question. It's asking where the lower esophageal sphincter is, and it's got a picture of the stomach here. You can see the duodenum here, you can see the body and the fundus and the cardia and all that. And then we actually know that the lower esophageal sphincter is up here, but if you want to find out more about that, in the upper right corner, I will link a video that talks about the esophageal tract and a cool thing called peristalsis that your stomach actually does as well, where it kind of constricts and allows food to move through, just like when you swallow and your throat kind of closes and it pushes those muscles together. There we go. So there are the little tiny things right there. That is your lower esophageal sphincter. You have 2. One is the upper, and that is actually in your throat. Right here, when you swallow, you have an upper esophageal sphincter, and that's this right here. When you swallow, it kind of closes. It doesn't allow food to go down unless you're swallowing, then it opens, the food goes down, and then it recloses. So we finished with a 93%, so I'm able to submit that, and that says progress saved, so I can submit. I got 100% because I only needed a 90 or better to get 100% on the assignment itself. So we can exit that and head on to the next one. This one is going to be the urinary system. So this is the urinary system, and this question is asking which of these is highlighted, and there's a highlighted structure right here. You can see over there. And then the options are external urethral sphincter M, membranous urethra, internal urethral orifice, prostatic urethra, and external urethral orifice. So if we break it down, we know that the external urethral sphincter M would be right here. The membranous urethra would be in between both of those two, kind of right here. The internal urethral orifice is what I believe that it is. So prostatic urethra would be coming right off of it, right here. And then the external urethral orifice would actually be down here at the end. So I'm going to guess it's the internal urethral orifice, and we can see that we are correct. Next one is the highlighted structure right inside of the internal urethral orifice, and it's asking if it's the internal urethral sphincter, external urethral orifice, membranous urethra, spongy urethra, external urethral sphincter. Well, we know that coming off of the internal urethral orifice would be the internal urethral sphincter. So I'm going to click on that, and we can see that it's correct. So orifice is right here, and then the sphincter is right next to it. That's the end of the urinary block. Got 100% on that because I technically got a 94, but that counts as 100. You can see that I got the internal urethral sphincter wrong. I misclicked. So we can go here to the last one, which is the reproductive system, and we're going to start that APR. First example question asks us what structure is highlighted here, and you can see the structure there. So this is actually both reproductive and urinary, and I know that this is the membranous urethra. No, this is the prostatic. Membranous is down here. Luckily, I did that before I clicked. So membranous is here and prostatic is here. So that's the prostatic urethra. And you can see there are 28 questions. So let's go. Another sample question asks where the fimbriae of the uterine tube is. So the uterine tube is all of this here. And the fimbriae are these weird little kind of fish wing looking things on the end of it. So there are the two. There's the other one on the other side. And you can see we're at 5 out of 28. So we got to keep going. So the last question asks about the highlighted structure, and it is kind of graphic, so I'm not going to show it, but I know that it's the labia minus, so then we can click that, proceed, submit, because we only got one wrong, so we got a 96%, so I can get 100% full credit, X out of there, and I am all done with the 4 APRs that we had to do. And now it's time to go get some lunch. So it's currently 12:45 at the time I'm finishing this. I have studied for currently about an hour and a half, and there's a lot more to go, so I'm going to take my stuff with me that I just studied, the papers, and I'm gonna go do them at the library after I get some lunch. Not too sure what I'm feeling, but we're gonna go grab some lunch and then do some studying in the library. A nice quiet place, a nice change of scenery from the couch that we studied on over there for the last hour and a half. So we're gonna go get some of the food, and then I also have to print off a separate review packet that's the cumulative questions over the previous units that we've gone over in the anatomy class, and then I'm gonna fill out the review packet because it is worth extra credit. I can get up to 2 points extra credit, and obviously any little bit helps for my overall grade. So let's go do that. So it's about 55 degrees, not too cold, not cold enough for a coat, but it is cold enough for a jacket, little type of windbreaker. So I got my long sleeve over my collared shirt here. And now it's starting to rain, so we're definitely gonna have to speed walk. I forgot to look ahead and forgot that it's the weekend and remembered that they're closed once I got there and the door was shut. So instead we went to the local store on campus and we decided to get Pop-Tarts, a protein bar, and a chocolate milk. So I guess this is my lunch and my brain food for my study period. So this is an outdoor seating area they have at the library. Pretty beautiful, but it began to sprinkle, so I didn't want to go and sit outside. And I'm on the 3rd floor of the 5 that the library offers, and it was this quiet. Take a listen to the sound. That's the actual sound. There were about 50 other people, and it was still that quiet. Kind of crazy. I got my peaches out in Georgia. Oh yeah. I get my weed from California. That's that. I took my chick up to the north, yeah. I get my light right from the source, yeah. Yeah, that's it. And I see you, the way I breathe you in, it's the texture of your skin. I wanna wrap my arms around you, baby, never let you go. And I see you, there's nothing like your touch. It's the way you lift me up, yeah. And I'll be right here with you till the end. I got my peaches out in Georgia, oh yeah. I get my weed from California, that's that. I took my chick up to the north, yeah. Still cloudy, but I ended up picking up some Subway on the way back. I guess they were just closed for their lunch break, so they were closed for about an hour, but I did 2.5 hours straight of work, finishing up that review packet, printing off my other cumulative review packet, which I'm going to fill out later back at the dorm, but picked up some Subway on the way home, and now I'm walking back. Going to eat it, then we're going to finish up that cumulative review packet, then we're just going to go over our notes and continue quizzing myself on those APRs until I get 100%, because even though I have 100% in the grade book, my actual grade was, 96, 94, 96 again, meaning I got one wrong each time. So I'm going to wait till I actually get 100 on each of them to make sure that I'm confident being able to identify all of those individual parts on both a cadaver and a computer-generated image, because I want to get a really good grade on this because I'm enrolled right now in a cadaver lab for next year. So that's the idea right now. That's why I plan on studying so much for this, because on the last one, I studied for about 9 hours and didn't do as happily, or I guess as good as I wanted. Wasn't as happy with my grade. So I'm going to study for more than that in hopes that I get a better grade overall on the exam. So I had a pretty productive day today. Studied for about 5 hours more or less, probably 4.5, closer to. So I took a bit of a break, and I just wasn't really feeling it a ton today because I know that I have a lot to do still. So I was kind of taking it easy today, but I've got some more exams coming up, so I'm going to cram for those, of course. But I did finish my review packet, my unit review, and you can see that here. Did finish all this. It was, I believe, 6 pages. There's some multiple choice, some short answers you can see here, asking the pathway of certain things, some true or false you can see here, and then obviously some diagrams that I had to label, which wasn't too terrible, but I finished that today, turned it in for the extra credit before 11:59, which is all good. And then this is actually the cumulative exam learning objective, so it's got units 1 through 5 that we learned over the course of the rest of the year. So here's 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then 5 is on this page here. And you can see that there were some questions that I marked off if I knew them and was able to recall them without actually looking them up. And then there were a couple that I forgot, so I wrote down some small things. So for example, comparing and contrasting the microscopic anatomy of compact bone versus spongy. For compact bone, I wrote osteons, and it's the external part of the bone, and then trabeculae make up spongy, and it's the inner part. Just the small things that I might forget when I'm actually studying and trying to recall them on the exam. So that was pretty much what I did today. I'm gonna go to bed now. It's about 11:30 p.m. I'm gonna sleep in a bit tomorrow because I thought my exam that was on Monday in one of my classes actually got moved to Tuesday, so I'm pretty happy about that. Gives me more time to study for both anatomy and for that class as well. This video is all anatomy, really studying because of my channel being biomedical behavioral neuroscience, and I don't really want to do it because it's not a science-related course. It's my Spanish class actually, and I've got that Tuesday, and then I've got 2 more. One is Wednesday, and then one actually goes live Tuesday, but isn't due until Thursday, so I'll probably take that one Thursday because it's the latest I can take it, so I'm going to push it back so I give myself the most amount of time to study for the other exams that I do have to take by a certain day. I'm feeling pretty good so far. I have studied a lot, have a lot more to go. I can worry about my other exams later because this one is really the most important to me. I do need, I guess, the best grade on it because a lot of my other classes, I'm chilling with a 98, 99, don't even need to study for the exam. And one of my classes I actually already took my exam because I had such a high grade. I technically already took it because it's a credit, no credit, so I'm going to fill it out, do whatever, doesn't really matter, don't need to study for that luckily because I had a certain grade going into the final that I don't need to take it because it wouldn't affect my grade so much as where my overall grade dropped a certain letter. So that's pretty nice. That's a nice weight off my back, a nice relief. So I can focus on these harder ones, such as my psychology and my anatomy. So I'm going to be taking those coming up this week. I'll show, not really show, but I guess once I take my exam, I'll say how I felt about it. Probably won't give my final score, just because it's a number that I don't really need to share. But I will say how I felt about it, if anything tripped me up, and then I'm obviously going to look at my notes afterwards and see if I can find the answer, if it's something that I should have known. But that's pretty much it for tonight. I will see you all in the morning. All right, so it is Monday morning. Didn't have any exams today, didn't have any classes actually because it's exam week, which is really nice. So I spent the morning studying, slept in a little bit, woke up, did about an hour of studying, took a nice long lunch break, relaxed for a little bit, and then I did 3 hours straight of studying. So I've got 4 hours down today, putting me at a grand total of 14 hours from 5 hours the last day, and then 5 hours the day before that. So that's 10 plus 4 today would be 14 total. Still want to do a little bit more, but I did find another review article online, I guess review packet. That's 159 concepts total. So I've completed 33 out of 159, as you can see by the top here. But these are really nice. It has multiple choice questions. I showed this in my other anatomy video. If you want to see, click up in the right corner up here, and I'll link it for the other anatomy video. But then you can see the question that says the apex of the lung projects superiorly to a point that is slightly superior to the bone called the what? Then it offers the xiphoid process, axis, atlas, or clavicle. And if you don't know, it says need help, and you can read about the concept, or you can go to the resources for the assignment, and it might offer some help for you. So the apex of the lung is this middle top point, and the point that would, let's see, slightly superior and posterior is the clavicle, which I'm pretty sure is correct, and we can read about it here just to make sure. So it says it brings you right to the point and highlights it for you. Paraspongy, blah, 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 wide concave base, superior blunt called the apex or cupula, projects superiorly to a point that is slightly superior and posterior to the clavicle. So there's the apex of the heart. You can see it here on both the left and the right lung. And then it points, yeah. And you can tell that it's a clavicle. So I'm gonna go back to questions, click that I'm highly confident in it. You can see that I'm correct now. And then this number doesn't change up here because you have to get 2 questions correct in order to move up. So the minimum number of questions that I'm gonna have to complete is 318. So let's keep going.
Chance, acid rapper, soccer, hacky sacker, cocky, khaki, jacket, jacker, slap happy, slapper, or rocky rocket launcher, shake that laffy taffy, jolly.
So the time's currently 9:30 p.m. on Monday night. My exam for anatomy is tomorrow. A little anxious, but I'm done studying for the night. So I'm gonna go shower, hopefully get a good night's sleep, even though I'm a little anxious, a little nervous for it tomorrow. But it's at 10 a.m., so hopefully I can get some sleep. Then I gotta wake up early. I'm gonna do a little bit of studying before I actually go, a little bit of last second cramming. But I think I'm in alright shape. I studied for about 15 hours total, bringing my total from 5 hours today, yesterday, and the day before that. 5 hours each day brings it to 15 total for this exam, which is the most by about 5.5 hours, 6 hours that I've studied. For any exam, it was about 9 hours for the most before this, so definitely a big improvement. Hopefully I can see an improvement in my score for the overall, because it's worth 200 points while the other exams are worth 120 because it's more questions because of the cumulative portion. But hopefully we do well. I'll see how it goes, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Well, the exam's done. Didn't feel terrible about it, didn't feel great about it. There were quite a few questions that I guess were not really tricky, but more in depth than I would have hoped. But I obviously can't help that. It's done now, can't dwell on it because I have more exams to do. So exams for today, finished anatomy. I have psych right now. And then tomorrow I've got chemistry and Spanish, and then I'm all done. So that's almost going to be a wrap on my freshman year of college. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on my journey. It's going to be pretty crazy. We got some awesome things coming up, some awesome videos. And I can't wait for you all to see what I have in store. So if you did enjoy, drop a like in the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.